Catalan that really didn't work out for Arjuna. He kept pushing, and he absolutely missed this moment when it was time to wrap it up and make a draw.
Well, I suspect that Nordebek will be trying to get a favorable pawn structure and then push on the long game.
Yeah, Nordebek seems to be one of those players who can sort of on demand play a bit of a grindy game and, drag the tension, postpone the tension till past move 40 even, and then just like play it slow, always trying to have the game under control.
But it was E4.
It was E4 after all.
And now for Matthias Blubaum, what is he going to respond with? For Matthias, I mean, can he coast through the remaining 3 games, drawing everything? And we have E4, E5.
Yeah, there is something that I'm trying to figure out. All right. When we were checking the women's pairing, there was Tan Zhongyi missing on the top boards. And I got confused, but apparently she is on top boards. She's playing Carissa Yip. And
yes,
because Carissa Yip has a fixed board 27, that's why Tan Zhongyi was not seen on the top boards. So we definitely have to pay attention to board 27 in the women's.
Sure. Especially Carissa Yip. I mean, she had a tremendous summer. She won the Cairns Cup. She got her second GM norm. And on board 1, moves are yet to be made. Nihal Sarin playing E4.
Against Alireza Firouzja. On the second board, by the way, the Petrov was a choice by Matthias Blubaum. Very, very solid opening, of course. E4 from Nihal Sarin. I'm not quite sure. I think he plays both E4 and D4.
He does. And what's interesting about Nihal Sarin is that we know him as an online bullet player. He's so good at these faster time formats. But I was reading an interview by him at the Chennai Grandmasters just a few months ago, and there was talk about how he's gone through a period of stagnation in classical chess. Yeah. And so he's changed trainer. He's now working with, incidentally, Gukesh's old trainer. So it's Prasanna. And the whole concept actually is to instill some confidence. Because when your rating has stagnated so much, as Nihal's done, then you do lose confidence in yourselves. But Nihal Sarin, he's a fabulous positional player, has this really good natural talent. That's why he's so good at the faster time controls, because he's able to understand quickly how to organize the pieces. And we are seeing a C3 Sicilian on the board, and this is their previous.
Yeah, 2 draws previously played between these 2 players. I was thinking when Alireza kind of hesitated a little bit with his first move, I was thinking, yes, Alireza theoretically has, Caro-Kann sometimes, and E5, of course, he has played quite a few times. But if you were to play the Sicilian, this, I believe, is the game to do so. Right, a critical game, you play against the leader, one of the last rounds, you're trading half a point, of course you want to be aggressive or,
but very solid start there from Nihal Sarin. C3 can be used just to get that draw, or also can be used to press. And Alireza, very dangerous player, very unconventional player. So we'll see what Alireza has up his sleeve. C3, not a surprise for sure. I think he definitely has a response.
Right. On the second board, we are getting Nordebek's answer to a question, where is advantage in the Petrov? And Nordebek's answer is there is no advantage in the Petrov because he chose to play 3D3. So basically playing your King's Indian setups or your Philidor setups with colors reversed with an extra tempo. So not fighting all that much for an opening advantage, but basically trying to get a game. Because in the Petrov, if you are to go for one of the main principal lines, yes, that's kind of the most challenging, but if your opponent knows then you can find yourself like entering some very long line, 25 moves, and by the end of this line, there's absolutely nothing left to play for. So therefore, d3, knight to c6, g3, this game is going to be tense and slow.
It definitely is. And I'm kind of curious to see how it develops because I used to play this type of system myself.
With white?
With white, yeah. You know, keep the position locked and, you know, just go bishop d2.
So d5 was
And you
played.
take.
And you take, yeah, you pretty much play not even the Philidor, more of a Pirc setup, or Pirc, should I say.
Yeah, and you go
Knight
bishop
takes on
c2.
d5, g2, yeah, bishop g2.
And
you castle, and you, yeah.
yeah, no, it completely is very similar to your pets. And okay, well, we're going to see how Matthias Bluebaum develops. He can put his bishop on c5. He can also put it on e7. He can also go bishop out to g4. Those are the
Bishop
kind of
G4,
moves that I have in my database. I used to meet a lot. I used to play it at different move order because I used to do it with my knight coming to c3 very early before committing to d3. So this gave me options to kind of challenge in d4. But interesting, because I also remember Antoinetta Stefanova going for something very similar. And she got a good
A couple
position.
of rounds ago.
Yeah.
Yep.
So it seems to be a tactic that people use in modern day chess. When you're stuck for an opening with the white pieces, just play your black repertoire.
Right. It seems to be the modern trend, right? And it's not that. I don't think it's like people like doing it. It's just on the main directions of all of the, your Berlins, your Queen Gambits. If you were to start with d4, there is not much of an advantage. And the game, the opening theory is kind of getting all of those like main lines exhausted. People having conversation not where do I get an advantage with white, but where I get a game, right? So my opponent has to play with the board and not just like repeat the variation he has prepared at home.
And
therefore, we are seeing more and more of those. And I dare to ask us to move to board 3, where Parham Massoudlu against Vincent Keimer does somewhat similar thing. Starting with knight f3, knight f6, and they're just playing g3.
Yep.
c5, bishop g2, knight to c6, castles, black went e5, allowing white to play, I want to say King's Indian with an extra tempo, e4, and knight to e4 is not the greatest idea for what I know, because there's rook e1, and then you win back the e5 pawn. So bishop to e7. Now Parham is the move. d3 would be like the pure King's Indian setup, and you can go knight c3 as well. So far too early to talk, but yeah, it's a playable position.
definitely. It's going to be a fighting position and it's somewhat unconventional. However, is it smart to play one knight f3 in this type of setup against Vincent Keimer, who is a man renowned for his knight f3? I mean,
So he's the one
he
does
does it all the time. And we even have like a Keimer system named after him because he's like knight f3. But in fairness, he does do it with c4. I was using him as a model game in the
Yeah, so knight f3, knight f6, c4 used to be, okay, Keimer does it a lot, but I think this way of playing closed openings was popularized first by Vladimir Kramnik, which it seems that you are playing some ready English type of stuff, but in fact it's particular move order that you have an idea against every major black's opening. So if black was to go for the Grunfeld, he would have, I don't know, I guess check, bishop d7, queen b3 system, or c takes, queen f4. If there was the Nimzo, that'd be, like e6, knight c3, bishop b4, and then you play queen c2 without d4. So basically kind of trying to get the transposition to some side variations of normal openings. This, what we have, is really, truly something original. Truly something original, unless, of course, black later on decides to play d5, and we will be speculating how much this extra tempo that white gets in the King's Indian methods.
Well, that is something I'm looking forward to discussing. But let's move on down to board 4, where we have Anish Giri, Dutch number 1, playing the Dutch number 2, Jordan van Foreest. Now, these two famously faced off against each other in a tiebreak for the Tata Steel. I think it was back in
1 or
yes.
something, yeah, and Jordan...
And it was Anish that lost. Jordan won. And
so
they have also worked together, as my understanding goes. So it's an interesting dilemma here. If they work together, like, what kind of prep is meant to be private? What is the opening they can
Knight f3, d5, and then Anish doesn't want any nonsense. He goes d4, c4, so basically getting the Catalan. Bishop g2 castles, and then knight to c3. D takes. So that's a kind of a bit of a tricky moves order for the Catalan, and I think the main justification back then, at least when I last checked this one, was that you go for this knight e5 line, and remember we had, I think, Nikita, Arjun with Nikita playing this one.
And that was knight c6.
The knight was on b1 and white was castled. So over there, after knight c6, white would do all the same, like take here, trade on e7, go queen a4. It's all identical to those previous lines. But then white, quite often, let's say after c5, white takes, queen takes, bishop e3, and as surprising as it is, castle long was played quite a few games. It all started with Caruana versus Nakamura in 2018, I believe, and since then there were quite a few games. The white gets slightly more pleasant position.
Right. Yeah, but it's a kind of not an easy pleasantness, I would say, because, you know, the white king can never rest easy on that side of the board.
Okay, so anyway, c5 is known to be, I believe, kind of less sharp. So basically you let white have what he wants, which in the Catalan, which is like some sort of a position where everything's symmetrical, but the g2 bishop applies some pressure on black's queen side, and there are difficulties developing the c8 bishop. Well, black pretty much claims, I will be able to develop, and yeah, you don't have much there.
Right.
Once again, theoretical. They've been, Giri had it against Topalov back in 2016, and there've been Gelfand games, Grisha games. So all the Catalan, Giri played quite a few of those. So in the database, you see Giri Yakovenko, Giri with Nepo, recent 2024.
It's a targeted prep.
Yeah, it's targeted prep. And what's unique about this position, Jovi, that you do not have any. So the lowest rated player in a database that I have played this position with any of the colors is Ernesto Inerkiva at 2693. So it's kind of elite players opening or elite players position, rather. No, seriously, like the average rating of the players is well above 2750.
Yeah, and incidentally, this is something that speaks in favor of Anish Giri. He has good track record. 3 wins,
7 draws and one loss.
Exactly. And in the Tata Steel earlier on this year, Jordan had a terrible showing when he lost with the white pieces in exchange French against Anish. But look at this. They are dressed apart. And you know what they say, when you're dressed apart, you look the part, you feel the part. So maybe this is a secret. And that brings me on to our poll of the day, where we are asking, is a dress code needed at these top FIDE events? And we've given you some options, so make sure that you cast your vote. Absolutely. Let's keep it classy. No. Pajamas are my lucky charm. C, classic jeans for a classic time control. And D, not needed if Magnus is playing. So Mira, I'm going to put the question to you. What do you think? Do you go the snooker direction? You know, you're absolutely, let's keep it classy, let's have those dinner suits, or...
That's a very good question, because I always felt like, you know, I'm for freedom and liberty, and let's not restrict players. But then sometimes some players will show up in really strange, really strange outfits. And when you've mentioned snooker, I actually think that part of me like watching a lot of snooker.
Well, that's
Because it's a
extreme.
very good appearance,
Yeah.
especially the good old days. Like, you have this older gentleman, very nice youths, and so on.
Yeah, it
So
adds a touch
there
of
is-
elegance.
Yeah, there is a certain appearance of it.
Yeah, I think I'm of the opinion, absolutely, let's keep it classy, but I'm going to leave it to you guys in chat. You decide, and you can cast your vote now. And of course, we'll keep you updated on the poll results. I'm kind of curious to know what everyone
Yeah.
chooses.
And now I don't know how to get rid of this image of when you mentioned snooker. And I'm thinking, what if snooker players would be